Well, if the last 7 days have been tumultuous, the next 7 are going to be critical. It's going to be a make-or-break week, not just for the government, but for the country. Well, joining us now to discuss that is the Prime Minister, Theresa May. Thank you very much for being with us. It's been a difficult week, shall we say. You've lost seven members of your team, including your Brexit secretary. We've seen Conservative MPs parading letters of no confidence in you in front of those TV cameras. Have you ever thought at any stage about just giving up? What's the point of this?
No, I haven't. And of course it's been a tough week. Actually, these negotiations have been tough right from the start, but they were always going to get even more difficult right towards the end when we're coming to that conclusion. But what I think is this isn't about me. It's actually about what's right for the people of this country. It's about what's in the national interest. That's what drives me, and that's what I'm being driven to deliver. That's what I want to deliver for people, and that's what I believe this deal does. I think it is the right deal in the national interest. And these next 7 days are going to be critical. They are about the future of this country. It's about people's jobs, it's about their livelihoods, it's about the future for their children and grandchildren.
You said there that it's been a difficult week. I mean, that's quite an understatement, really. At one point, it looked like the whole house of cards could come falling down, but you did manage to hang on to some of those crucial Brexiteer cabinet members, people like Michael Gove, like Andrea Leadsom, but they seem to be saying that they'll only stay if there is more movement on the deal. We can have a look at something that Andrea Leadsom said yesterday. She said there is still more to be done and we do still have time before the EU Council. Is she right? Is there any space for more manoeuvre?
Well, there is indeed more negotiation taking place, and nothing is agreed until everything is agreed. But perhaps I could explain the nature of the deal, because actually there are two parts to this deal. There's what you might be called the leaving part of the deal, and then there's the future relationship, the future deal that we're going to have with the European Union. What that future deal does is delivers on the vote that people gave us in the referendum in 2016. It delivers a Brexit that brings back control of our money, our laws and our borders. It means we bring an end to free movement once and for all. For example, no jurisdiction of the European Court of Justice. That's the future. That delivers on Brexit for people. There's been some controversy and concern about the leaving part of the deal and about this thing called the backstop or the insurance policy for Northern Ireland, but that will only be temporary. What is going to determine our future relationship, bring that end to free movement, end to the jurisdiction of the Court of Justice, is that future part of the deal. These two go together, and we won't agree on, we won't agree with withdrawal, the leaving part, until we've got the future part.
Well, let's be clear then, because you said there that there's some more space for negotiation. Is it the leaving part that's done and dusted? Is the negotiation going to come when it comes to what is written in that future declaration?
Well, as I say, we won't agree the leaving part, if you like, that was the withdrawal agreement, until we've got what we want in the future relationship, because these two go together.
So there is
now,
space to change it then?
No, the focus this week will be on the future relationship. And when we were in the House of Commons, a number of members of Parliament were saying, we want some more detail on that future relationship. That's what we're working on this week. But it's the future relationship that delivers on the Brexit vote. It's the future relationship that actually says this is the right deal for the future of our country, because it's a deal that's in the national interest, in the interests of people up and down this country, worried about their jobs and worried about their children's future.
I mean, it's been 2 years to get to this point, so you're really saying that you're going to change the future relationship deal in the next 7 days? That's a pretty tight timetable.
No, over the 2 years, there's been a lot of negotiation. A lot of the negotiation has focused on the withdrawal part, the leaving part. And just to give an example, Sophie, right at the very beginning, I said for those people from the European Union living here in the UK and UK citizens who are living in the other 27 countries of the European Union, we need to make sure that their life choice is protected, their rights are protected. So, there was early negotiation on that, for example. What we're now focusing on is getting in that more detail on what the future relationship will be, so that we make sure that we deliver for people. That's what this is about.
What are you
doing? It's about delivering Brexit for people.
What are you going to do then in the next 7 days? Because it's not long.
We will be negotiating. I'll be going back to Brussels. We will be negotiating.
So when are you going back to Brussels?
Well, the negotiating teams are working as we speak, and obviously which day I go back to Brussels when I go back, will determine how partly be about how those negotiations go. So I will be going back to Brussels. I'll be in touch with other leaders as well, because the summit next week, and it is next week, this special European Council, will be among the European leaders.
So who will you be meeting in Brussels?
Well, I want to will meet Jean-Claude Juncker and sit down and talk to him. He's responsible for the Commission side of the, obviously,
and
of
is the
all of this.
withdrawal agreement on the table when you have that meeting?
The withdrawal agreement, as we agreed the withdrawal agreement in principle on last week, the withdrawal agreement goes alongside the future relationship. It's the future relationship that actually delivers, if you like, on people's concerns in the withdrawal agreement. Getting that future relationship right is necessary, but nothing's agreed until everything is agreed.
I understand you're keen to talk about the future relationship, but if you look at the two documents, the future relationship and the divorce deal, if you like, the withdrawal agreement. I mean, one is 585 pages long. The other is 7 pages long. One is meticulously detailed. The other one is fairly vague. There's no legal commitments in there. I mean, do you ever worry that you're being played here, that the EU has asked you to hand over £39 billion on a few kind of vague promises?
No, there's a reason. It may seem a boring reason, but there's a reason why there's a difference between these two documents. And it is, we can't actually sign up to that detailed legal text, indeed negotiate much of that.
You've got to trust them.
No, indeed negotiate much of that legal text until we've actually left the European Union. And if anybody's in any doubt, we are going to leave the European Union on the 29th of March 2019. So what we need from that future relationship is an agreement between us, between the UK and the European Union, that this is what that future relationship is going to be.
Okay.
And if you just think back to where the European Union started on this, they wanted us as a country just to take an off-the-shelf model, the phrase is Norway or a Canada-style treaty for Great Britain only, not for the whole United Kingdom. We fought that. We stood our ground. We said, no, we're the UK. Actually, we can have a better, more ambitious relationship with you that will be good for citizens, good for people here in the UK, and I think good for people in the EU as well. And it took time, but they have come round to that, and they've said, yes, we'll agree a more ambitious relationship with the UK than we, the EU, at first thought we could give you.
Now, I do want to focus a little bit on the backstop, because this is effectively why you've lost your Brexit secretary this week. Lots of people are very concerned about it, and just one part in particular of that withdrawal agreement that I think we can have a look at. So the withdrawal agreement says the backstop can only be brought to an end if the Union and the United Kingdom decide jointly that it is no longer necessary to achieve its objectives. I mean, this is what Dominic Raab was concerned about, isn't it? This idea that we can't unilaterally decide to leave the backstop. It's a bit like the Hotel California. You can never leave.
No, you can leave.
And this is, EU say it's okay.
Well, first of all, let's look at what this backstop is. The backstop's an insurance policy. The backstop is saying to the people of Northern Ireland... But
it might
and
happen.
Ireland, no,
I know you don't want it to happen, but it might happen.
But look, if I can just explain, because there's various stages in this. There's an assumption that somehow this is the only option on the table, and it's not. And that's the first thing that's important for me to say to you. Now, this is an insurance policy. It says that if we come to a point in time where the future relationship that we're negotiating can't be fully in place by the end of December 2020, and we fully intend to ensure it can be, and that's what we're working to. But if there's a short period of time when we need this insurance policy, we need to make sure that people of Northern Ireland still have the reassurance of no hard border between them and Ireland. So we've got two options at that stage, and we can choose whether to have this backstop, as the phrase has come into normal common parlance, or whether to extend the implementation period for a brief period of time.
I understand that you don't want the backstop to happen.
Once you're in the backstop, if it ever happens...
The issue is about being able to leave unilaterally. I mean, we can leave the EU unilaterally by triggering Article 50. It's about sovereignty.
Well, I think, as you've just seen, from 2 years of negotiations on the withdrawal agreement for us leaving the European Union, that yes, there was an article there to leave the European Union, but it's about a negotiation between both sides as to how that is going to be done. That's what we've been entering into. So in the backstop, there will be a review of the backstop, and both sides can say, yes, we agree that there are arrangements in place that provide for the people of Northern Ireland, and therefore that the backstop is no longer necessary if we were in it.
Can we unilaterally leave the backstop? Yes or no? We can't, can we?
But, Sophie, just think about if you took out an insurance policy and if you were coming up to the point where that insurance policy was being used, and suddenly the people providing that insurance policy pulled the plug on it for you, and you were left without that insurance policy, without having any say in it, what would you think?
So you think it's fair enough then for the EU to have this?
Actually, what we're talking about is a backstop we never intend to use. The EU don't want to use it either. It's not the only option that is on the table. Were it to have to be used, both sides can review it, and the process by which we can prove that actually there are other arrangements in place so the backstop can be stopped. And the backstop can only ever be temporary. Under the legal arrangements of the European Union, they cannot enter into a permanent relationship on the basis of this withdrawal agreement. It can only be temporary. And then that's why I focus on the future relationship, because the thing that's going to make the difference to people's jobs, to people's livelihoods, to people's futures in this country is the future relationship we negotiate with the European Union. That's what we must put front and foremost, that it is in the national interest to get that deal right, to ensure that, yes, we're leaving the European Union, we can have those trade deals around the world, we can bring jobs to this country, we can make that better future for people.
OK, now, I'm no mathematician, but I don't see how this deal can get through Parliament. Labour have said that they want to vote against it. The DUP have said they'll vote against it. The SNP, the Liberal Democrats, dozens of your own MPs. It's not going to get through, is it?
Well, look, when it comes to Parliament, members of Parliament will have to look at the deal. But I think, as I've previously said, I think they should also think what this is about. This is about delivering on Brexit. It's about ensuring that we deliver what people in this country voted for.
I know you think it's a good deal, but it's not going to get through Parliament right now.
When people come to look at this deal, that's what they need to think about. But let's look at some of the positions that you've said other parties have taken. I mean, Jeremy Corbyn in the Labour Party, Jeremy Corbyn is clear. He's going to vote against this, whatever. He hasn't even fully read it. He doesn't even know what's in it. And yet already he's saying he's going to vote against it. Why? Because he's playing party politics with this. This isn't about party politics. This is about what matters for this country. It's about what is in the national interest. That's what I'm determined to deliver, a deal that's good for the people of this country.
What happens if it doesn't get through Parliament? Would you be prepared to bring it back for another vote?
Look, there's a process that Parliament will go through. If were it the case that the deal was lost, then the government would come back with their proposals for what the next step was. But we're not at that point. We're at the point of a week's further to go in the negotiation, when we have that agreement with the European Union at the EU Council and bring it back to the House of Commons. What I'm saying is I think every member of Parliament will want to look at the deal, but they'll want to ask themselves, how can I make sure that we deliver Brexit, and how can I do it in a way that's good for my constituents? And remember, there are those in the House of Commons who just want to stop Brexit. I believe it is essential for people's trust in politics and trust in Parliament that we deliver on Brexit for people.
Now, this weekend, your future is hanging by a thread. Conservative MPs, we know, submitting letters of no confidence to the chair of the 1922 committee, Sir Graham Brady. If that reaches 48, there will be a vote of no confidence in your leadership. When was the last time that you spoke to Sir Graham Brady? Oh,
I spoke to Sir Graham Brady at the end of last week.
So do you know if he's reached the 48 letters?
I have regular conversations with Sir Graham Brady. But let me just...
Has he reached the 48 letters?
Just as Graham Brady will make it known, if 48 letters are reached, Graham Brady will make that known.
Do you know?
Let me just comment. I have not, as far as I know, no. The answer to your question is no. But can I just address this?
Sorry, so the answer to the question is that the 48 limit has not been reached.
As far as I know, no, it has not. But let me just address this issue about the question of leadership. As I say, to me, this isn't about me. It's actually about what's right for the country. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm not going to be distracted from actually the important job in this critical week of negotiations of making sure we do get that final good deal for the country. But, you know, a change of leadership at this point isn't going to make the negotiations any easier, and it's not going to change the parliamentary arithmetic. What it will do is bring in a degree of uncertainty. That's uncertainty for people and their jobs. What it will do is mean that it is a risk that actually we delay the negotiations, and that's a risk that Brexit gets delayed or frustrated. I'm clear people voted for us to leave. We will leave, and we'll leave on the 29th of March 2019.
Now, the last week must be have been personally very difficult for you. We can have a quick look at something that your chief whip said, a message to some of your MPs. The Prime Minister will not be bullied and will not change course. Do you think some MPs have been trying to bully you, and what would your message be to them?
Look, this is an issue on which people have had very strong views. Some of them have held those very strong views for a very long time. We're coming to the point at which some difficult decisions have to be taken about how we ensure that we deliver Brexit for the British people. I think, obviously people have been making their views known, and that's understandable. We live in a democracy. But when it comes to it, I ask all of my colleagues to think about this, to think about ensuring that we can deliver Brexit for the British people, to think about ensuring that we do it in a way that is good for our constituents, not some debate in Westminster. It's very easy in Westminster to get involved in intricacies of debate and not to remember that actually what this is about is not us. It's about people out there. It's about their futures.
You say it's not about us, but at the same time, your leadership is in a critical point right now. And I am interested in the impact it's had on you personally, because some of the language we've heard, some of the anonymous briefings in recent weeks have been, frankly, pretty horrific. I mean, we've heard talk of killing zones, of nooses, of assassinations. I mean, how does that make you feel?
Well, first of all, I think all of us in politics have a responsibility to make sure that when we talk about things, we do so responsibly and we think about the sort of terminology and the language that we're using. But look, it doesn't distract me from the main task at hand. And that's why coming back to this, politics is a tough business, and I've been in it a long time. So I've seen the ups and downs of politics. I've seen the sort of, and I've been through some tough times myself in the past in politics. I always think the important thing is to say, what are we here for? Who are we here for? And we're here for our constituents. As Prime Minister, I'm here for the people of this country. And that's what we must put first and foremost, their interests. That's what must drive us. It's what drives me, is what's going to drive me in the negotiations over the next week.
In a week when people have been queuing up to criticise the decisions that you've made, that they believe that you were going down the wrong track, for better or worse, I just wonder what it is that makes you keep going. I mean, in the past you've spoken about your father's sense of duty. He was a vicar. Has your faith helped?
Well, that's a part. I mean, that is a sort of integral part of me, if you like. But it's what drives me, what keeps me going in this, is knowing that actually I think we have a duty as a government. I think we have a duty as a parliament to listen to people. If you think back pre the 2016 referendum, Parliament overwhelmingly said this must be a choice of the British people, and we gave people that vote, and they gave us their vote, and they said let's leave. And I believe it's absolutely critical that we do that. And we can have, debates within Westminster about, is this the perfect Brexit from one person's viewpoint or the perfect Brexit from somebody else's viewpoint? What matters is that we deliver Brexit. And what matters is that when people come to look at this deal and vote for it in Parliament, they recognise the importance of ensuring we're delivering Brexit. And I don't want to risk ending up in a situation where Brexit is somehow delayed or people try to stop it from happening. We are going to deliver for people. We're going to leave the EU, and that's going to happen next March.
And then just finally, Prime Minister, there's been some studies over the years that have showed that in good times, companies are more likely to appoint men to leadership positions, but in times of crisis, they're more likely to appoint women. Why do you think that is?
Look, I haven't seen that research, so I don't know what the basis of that research is. Look, I think all I would say is that I look at this as a politician, as a member of Parliament, as a Prime Minister, and I would hope, as I do, I will hope that every other member of the House of Commons will think not about themselves, not about the theological arguments of Brexit, but actually think about what matters for people up and down this country. Let's give them the certainty of that bright future. That's delivering Brexit on a good deal. that's this deal.
OK, big questions for all MPs coming up. Prime Minister, thank you much for being with us this morning.